on Equinoxe television in our top stories. Muslim faithfuls in Cameroon joined their peers today nationwide to celebrate the Feast of the Tabaski. Call it the Feast of Sacrifice. On prayer grounds early today, they prayed for the return of peace in the two English-speaking regions of the country. They as well prayed for security or return to normalcy across the national territory. You will be listening to imams as well as Muslim faithfuls in Kumba, Meme division of the southwest region of the country, also in Jombe, Penja, and Kongsamba in the Mungo division of the Litowal region. We also show you the deplorable states of the Wild Motor Park in Bonaberi, Douala 4 subdivision that is now scary to passengers who say they cannot dare or venture to get into the park to get buses to move out of the Litowal region. Most of those working in the said motor park say the situation is precarious and has affected their activities adversely. Those were top stories. Good evening. Once again, you're welcome to the 6 p.m. newscast on Equinoxe television, where we are broadcasting live in Douala, the nation's economic capital. We begin with the Feast of Tabaski, celebrated in Cameroon today to see Muslim faithfuls as they joined their counterparts across the world. In Kumba, Meme division of the southwest region, the Muslim faithfuls converse on prayer grounds to pray for the return of peace in the conflict-hit southwest region as well as in the northwest region. During the prayer session that was attended by the senior divisional officer for the Meme division, Tundon Shambalin, he urged the Christian Muslim faithfuls to continue praying for return of peace in the region. Details in this report compiled by Mala Glory.
The Muslim faithful in the city of Kumba in the southwest region celebrated the Feast of Sacrifice today despite the insecurity rocking the region. They came together to offer prayers to Allah for peace in the region and the country as a whole.
The majority of Muslim population from Meme, they did for Kumba 2 subdivision.
The population of Meme are in Kumba 2 subdivision. Reason why we are here to join the other faithfuls to pray. During fellowship here, the Imam prayed for peace and the leaders of the country.
And you don't pray for religious tolerance.
We encourage the population to remain focused in their daily activity and to believe to Allah. Me also, I came to support them, to celebrate with them, and to tell them that the state will permanently be available to support them in their various activities.
The level of insecurity in the region has for recent times made it difficult for the faithful to gather together. Thanks to the Feast of Sacrifice, they can visit friends and family to share a meal.
It brings we the Muslim brother that's together.
It brings the Muslim brothers together. It permits us to visit one another. This will go a long way to reinforce the unity amongst the Muslim faithful.
Today. And it will permit you today to visit each and everybody.
The coronavirus pandemic made it difficult for the faithful to honor one of the 4 pillars of Islam, which is going to Mecca.
This month, now the last month of the Muslim calendar.
This month is the last month of the Muslim calendar. We had to travel to Mecca, but because of the coronavirus, we can't.
Do not permit me for go Hajj.
However, the Feast of Sacrifice went on hitch-free.
The Feast of Sacrifice has also been celebrated, as well in Jombe, Penja, and Kongsamba in the Mungu division of the Litowal region, also in Baham in the west region of the country, as well as other localities across Cameroon. Meantime, in the Mungu division of the Littoral region as well as in the West region, the Muslim faithfuls on prayer grounds as well prayed for the return of peace across the national territory, as Immaculate Fogwe reports.
Gathered in their numbers in different prayer grounds in Baham, in the West region, Jombe Penja and Kongsamba in the Littoral region, Muslim faithfuls pray to mark Eid al-Adha, also known as the Feast of Sacrifice, which is the most important festival on the Islamic calendar. A sheep is later slaughtered near the prayer ground. They are commemorating the willingness of Ibrahim to sacrifice his son on God's command. Ismail is later replaced with a ram. Muslims commemorate the day by slaughtering animals such as sheep, goats and cows. The different imams urged Muslims to imbibe the virtues of self-sacrifice and obedience to God and love for humanity as exemplified by Prophet Ibrahim. They equally prayed for the return of peace and normalcy in the conflict-hit regions.
To Allah, the Almighty Allah, to accept our prayers and supplication, asking Him for forgiveness, for peace, unity and progress, safety. May Allah protect our fatherland Cameroon and our authorities and His Excellency, the President of our Republic. Allahumma inni as'aluka imanan sadiqan wa ilman nafi'an wa rizqan wasi'an wa risalan jakiyan wa alban kashiyan wa nasabi.
This feast serves as a reminder to followers of Islam not to be preoccupied by their possessions or lose sight of their spirituality. Bakada Salah to all Muslim faithfuls.
While the Muslim faithfuls are joyfully celebrating the Feast of Sacrifice, a poultry farmer in the Tongangtu neighborhoods in Bawusam West region of the country is in grief. He is lamenting about the destruction of his poultry farm by heavy rainfall accompanied by strong winds that was recently. Smanjukan Gabriel says the man is now begging on competent government authorities to assist him and other Cameroonians who have been benefiting from his poultry farm. His report.
An entire poultry farm destroyed by the heavy rains that fell in Tungang quarters in Bafoussam, West region of Cameroon. The strong wind that accompanied the rain brought down an entire building housing more than 100 chicks. Even those that are left, I don't have anything to feed them. The entire roof was taken away. I have nothing to buy even new things to replace those that were destroyed. Soon, school will reopen. The destruction of the poultry left behind several losses as some of the chicks died while others had broken legs. The owner calls for help from goodwill people. He says it was a loan he collected from a bank to put up the structure which has been destroyed. Bank officials are behind me to refund their money that I took on loan. I'm begging on good Samaritans out there to come to my rescue. Apart from the poultry farm that was destroyed, several houses in Tungantu neighborhoods were also destroyed with their roofs taken off by the winds. Farmers also had their eyes to cry because their crops were destroyed by the heavy downpour in the Bafoussam 1 municipality.
We stay in the west region of the country where elements of the Bafoussam Central Police Station have arrested 3 suspected criminals and presented to the public. The men alleged to be burglars were presented to the inhabitants of Bafoussam alongside stolen items like drinks, electronics, shoes, handbags, cosmetics, among others. According to security officials and victims, these items were stolen in shops in Marché Bafoussam on the 11th and 12th of March. Victims recount they arrived in markets and discovered their shops were burgled by men of the underworld, with the aforementioned items including mobile phones and watches smuggled either through the forced open doors or ceiling. The commissioner, Mahmoud Singai, says they were arrested after investigation was launched following series of complaints tabled by traders of the Marché Bafoussam. These 3 suspects, he asked, would appear before a competent judge to answer to the crimes they are accused of, according to the commissioner. Still, this also falls under the operation to keep the city of Bafoussam secured ahead of the African Nations Cup next year, as ordered by the West Regional Delegate for National Security. We now talk about this incident that was recorded recently. Students of the Saint Jerome Catholic University pay homage to the young girl Erica, who died in the accident recently at the Ferus Bisengen roundabout, that's in Douala, as she was returning from a musical concert in the company of the popular Cameroonian artist Tenor. They lit candles in front of a door which she shall never cross again. Alphonse Aïssi Abena, a member of the Mulium family support team, clarifies that Erica Mulium was born in Douala on October 15, 2001, with a Belgian nationality. Another twist of the tragic incident is outing of Tenor's manager, who published an information on the artist's Facebook page incriminating driver X, who escaped, abandoning the victims on the accident scene that fateful day, July 14th, breaking 15th. After so many violent criticisms, the information was deleted. Several sources with an amateur video affirmed Tenor was the driver that day, despite refusal by his companions. He shouldn't take the wheel. This is confirmed by Alphonse Aïssi Abena, a member of the Mulium family support team. The Mulium family is still in shock, have filed judicial proceedings against the Cameroonian artist Tenor, still on his recovery bed following injuries he sustained in that accident. Here in the nation's economic capital, notably in Bonaberi, Douala 4 subdivision, the Royal Motor Park is said to be scaring passengers from entering to get a bus to travel out of Douala. This is due to its insanitary state, craters with stagnant water, as others call it, reservoirs and small lakes, serving as breeding grounds for mosquitoes, ready to give a warm welcome to passengers. This has caused or forced some transport agencies to be loading along the main roads, thereby violating laws enacted by transport and council authorities. Those who still operate in this deplorable rail motor park now complain of facing two major challenges, being the nasty and scary nature of the motor park and the slow business, because most of their passengers now prefer to board buses loading along the main road that is outside the park. They plead on authorities that be to do their job correctly for the benefits of all. Take a listen to a loader in the Royal Motor Park in the following excerpt.
My name is Mr. Kome. I'm in Garu Bonaberi, controlling. I want to give our difficulties, the challenges we are facing in this park. First, we have problem of parts. If you can look around, you see potholes everywhere. We have rainwater everywhere. So for a car to enter in this park, we are facing challenges. because of these barrel potholes. And another problem we are facing is the method of loading cars when we are in the park. People are loading cars at the roadside. It makes for passengers to come down. We don't always have passengers because we are the last bus stop. We are the last people here. So when you see the other agency, they always like to put their cars at the roadside. So we have been complaining. We have been complaining to the security people here. We have been giving complaint, and even we are not having any changes. So we are facing difficulties. People loaded at the roadside when it is still time that everybody is loading inside the park. You see people put their cars at the roadside. So we have been laying complaint, not one time, not two times. It has been long. And also we have two challenges. These potholes that are in the park cause us even mosquitoes. You know, people will be here. You see children will come like people are in the cars like these, mosquitoes everywhere because of the potholes. You see watering everywhere. That creates mosquitoes everywhere. If you want to go even in our offices, you meet mosquitoes everywhere because of the potholes that we are having in the park. So we are pleading those that are in charge of this place, they can see how they can remedy us so that they should arrange this place. So those are our challenges that we are having.
Some of the passengers who are now boarding buses along the main road say they are doing so in order to save time because in the park things are very slow. Take a listen to some of them.
My name is Mr. Kome. I'm in Garu Bonaberi, controlling.
Prefer taking the car by the roadside because it saves my time. If I go to the park to use the ride system, I will not leave Douala on time. But I know that if I come here within 20 minutes, I will leave Douala. So I don't like to go and stay in the park. I've been trying it, but I always delay there. So I prefer standing here because here is my movement.
I'm going to Boya because by the roadside it's faster than in the park.
Those were passengers boarding buses along the major roads at the Rai Motor Park because of the insanitary, deplorable state and scary nature of the Rai Motor Park itself. That ending this first part of the newscast. Up next, Talking Point. Good evening once again. You're welcome to Talking Point. We having as guest a politician. He is Shune Siaka. Good evening and welcome.
Good evening, Naze. I'm delighted to be here once more to give a deep insight into burning issues in and around Cameroon.
It's been a long time you've been off this set. Right.
Quite a very long time.
Well, keeping you busy.
We have been busy trying to put back the pieces of the broken nation together so that we could get back to peace and tranquility as we used to be before.
And all your efforts in putting together the broken pieces, how far have you gone with putting together the broken pieces?
It's just consultation and sensitization so that people should consolidate peace, unity, and national integration and consider these are values that we inculcate against violence, barbarism, and unwanted killings.
And has it been successful? Tell us, have you succeeded to, let me say in the case of a broken calabash, have you gotten the calabash back to its normal shape?
It's slow but steady, but using the example of a calabash is outrageous because you can't break a calabash and have it back again as it used to be. But I think in the case of
eating your cake and having it back, it's possible. Eat your cake and have it back. It's the same situation, like the situation we are currently facing, the socio-political situation.
Yes, Cameroon is going through political upheaval. We are attacked from 4 angles. We have the Boko Haram insurgents in the north.
Yes.
We have the excesses of the Central African crisis coming into the east. And then we have the northwest and the southwest upheaval, which I think Cameroonians have come to understand that peace is a virtue And besides, you can have some problems, but it's not violence that can be able to solve that problem. We got to sit on the table and dialogue to be able to bring peace and tranquility back to our beloved nation that we used to pride in our peace. We used to pride in our tranquility. We used to pride in the love that we used to share. But out of a sudden, things went astray. But slowly but steadily, people are gaining consciousness that we have to stay united as a nation, and we have to prioritize peace, because we can't live happily without peace.
You mentioned the 4 angles. What about the central points? We're talking about other regions that will constitute the central problematic point, whereby the political situation, many calling for a political transition, is somehow calm, but it is gradually eating deep Cameroonians who wish for change.
Yes, Cameroon is a state of law.
Exactly what the CRM they are fighting against, what the members of the bars, Brigade Anti-Sadina or something like that, Brigade Sadina, who are fighting against poor governance in the country.
Yes. Poor governance or good governance is as a result of collaboration of the two parties to be able to come out with, to consolidate good governance and able to lead the people with peace. I think that as an opposition party, the CRM or the MRC as is popularly known, it falls within their fundamental rights as an opposition party to be able to raise fundamental issues that can bring development to the nation. But if it is like inciting the nation to violence, then I think they are going against the constitution of the state, that same constitution that legalized that political party. So it falls within the prerogatives of all Cameroonians and all political parties to be able to work to bring development, peace, unity, and tranquility in Cameroon as a nation.
Okay, let's talk about the Feast of Tabaski, be celebrated by Muslim faithfuls, by our brothers and sisters today. And what actually caught my attention is that every year they pray for return of peace, normalcy in the conflict regions. We're talking about the northwest, southwest, far north region, also the insecurity in the east regions, masterminded by rebels from the Central African Republic. Several prayers, several years, nothing has been changing. What is wrong?
It is a hyperbole for you to say nothing has been changing. But besides, before I dive into the analysis of your question, I want to wish a happy Feast of the Tabaski to all Muslims in the national territory, starting from those in the far north to the east, to the south, to the west, and especially those in the northwest and the southwest regions, seizing this opportunity to extend a happy Tabaski to Alhaji Dampulu, who is also who has been putting in all his efforts to bring peace and tranquility back in the northwest region, and especially to the people of Amshide, who have been victims of Boko Haram insurgents in their region several times. So I seize this opportunity to wish a happy Tabaski to them, that Allah is going to bless them and bring back peace in their regions.
Okay, let's talk about the prayers. You said it's a hyperbole.
It's a gross hyperbole for you to say that peace has not returned to Cameroon since this insurgent started some few years behind.
Because we have efforts of bishops, we have imams, Christians, Muslim faithfuls have been praying that there should be peace like before 2016, but things are still upside down.
The status quo is not as alarming as you are trying to present it, because I think we have countries like Syria, where since this year started, they have lost over 5,000 citizens, getting to 10,000. But in 5 years' time, we have not lost up to 5,000 people in Cameroon. And I think it is not as alarming as the way you are presenting it.
But even a soul matters.
A soul matters, and I still want to say I trust the clairvoyance. I trust the clairvoyance of the head of state, His Excellency Paul Biya, for being able to calm down himself and use dialogue as a means to solve this problem. Being able to dialogue with church religious leaders, pastors in the PCC, fathers in the Catholic Church, and imams. You see, all of them go to their always economical prayers for peace. And I think that unless you go on the ground, Unless you go on the ground and see what is happening there, you will still think that things are as they used to be before. But I want to assure you here, without any fear of contradiction, that as the crisis emanated in 2017, late 2016, getting to 2017, we are in 2021 now. The status quo in the ground is no longer the same. People who embrace violence, people who embrace fear, have started understanding that violence is not the gateway to the solution to development and peace. And people who were afraid have now understood that you can face the people and talk to them and let them understand that we can use a peaceful means to transition. We can use a peaceful means to bring the government on their knees, to be able to consolidate good governance. And it's not by killing and slaughtering people that we are going to bring development in Cameroon.
You talk about dialogue. The President of the Republic has already held a dialogue with imams, with bishops, religious leaders. Are you saying it is sufficient, the dialogue that's held, and that the call for a Swiss-mediated dialogue and other calls for dialogue, they are all in vain? They are not necessary at this moment, because President Paul Biya organized a dialogue where many people thought it was an occasion for citizen members to celebrate some kind of event?
You know that there is this unpopular adage that if you want to hide anything from a Cameroonian and put it into a book, he will never read it. Most people who like to comment on this national dialogue that took place have never taken time to even read the terms of reference of that dialogue. It is a continuous process. It was just the beginning of a process of a dialogue. It is continuous. It is still going on now, and it will continue until when peace and tranquility will return back to Cameroon. We should not make comments and judgment as though the national dialogue that took place in Yaoundé was the end of everything. It was just the beginning of a project. A project is a process. You have the beginning, you have the middle, and you have the end. We are still in the process of dialogue, and I want to strongly believe that if you have this country at heart, and if you love this country at heart, you will join in that dialogue process till the end, so that peace and tranquility should return to Cameroon, because Cameroon was referred as the triangle of peace. And we must return back to that triangle of peace, because Cameroon is a blessed nation.
You said the process. What is happening in the process then?
Okay, if you want to know what is happening in the process, you are a journalist. You can get closer to the stakeholders, and you will get the terms of reference that created that national dialogue team, and you see how they have been working and how they continue to work. And you and I, as Cameroonians, it is our responsibility and duty to be able to promote peace as part of that dialogue process in our own small way, so that peace can return to our communities.
If I understand you, you're talking about the implementation of the special status for the northwest and southwest regions of the country to be or constituting that process. But some see it as ineffective. Am I right? Killings continue, looting, destruction. Many people continue to flee their localities in the northwest, southwest regions.
We have people who already have premeditated conclusions about anything that's coming from the government of this country, until they think that nothing good can come from this government. Whereas the implementation of the special status starts with the decentralization process. That as a local elected official, that I represent my people here, I can guarantee you without any fear of contradiction or fear of favor that the process of decentralization is going on, it is continuous, and it is effective, and it's going to be realized for the betterment of Cameroonians.
Is it not the same decentralization that led to the escalation of the crisis the people of the northwest, southwest regions have been facing?
That was then. We are in a new status quo now.
Even though the head of state says effective decentralization will be put in place.
We are talking post-national dialogue, but you are bringing us back to pre-national dialogue.
That's why I'm talking about. That's why presently I'm talking about effective. That's the word the government authorities use. That now will be implementation of effective, or underline the word effective decentralization. That's what they use.
I will challenge the editorial team of Equinoxe to send a monitoring and evaluation team right to the ground and to consult with local elected officials, the mayors, and they will be able to see at what extent decentralization is being effectuated in Cameroon. I will guarantee you that yesteryears it was working at an arithmetical progression of 1, 2, 3, 4. But in the present status quo, it is working at a geometrical progression of 5, 10, 15, and 20. I can guarantee you that.
So what you are telling Cameroonians is that they have nothing to fear about, that everything is coming to normalcy, everything will come to normal in the short run.
What I'm assuring Cameroonians,
Cameroonians, developments of the northwest southwest region.
There is light at the end of the tunnel. Development is going to come. Peace and tranquility is going to return. All we need is to clean our brains, because some people have been brainwashed to think that nothing good can come from this government. I want to guarantee you here that it's no longer about this government. It's about Cameroonians being able to change, being able to have that conscience of good governance, having that conscience of nation building, having that conscience of being able to love their country and speak well for their country and do something good for their country. We keep on asking what this nation has done for us. We need to say, this is what I've done for my nation, before asking this nation what the nation has done for you.
But for over 30 years, the population complain of still bleeding, and they want a transition.
I want to guarantee you that democracies that have survived for over 500 years, like the US and the rest, if my statistics are correct, they still complain. You still have poor regions in France, like Saxel, who are poorer than people who live in Douala and Yaoundé. So it is not something that it is automatic, that manna will just fall from heaven, and on one day every Cameroonian will have food on the table, every Cameroonian will be able to send their children to school without any complaints. It is not going to happen like that. It's going to be a gradual process, and we need to involve ourselves and connect ourselves with the stakeholders who are implementing it. If we think that the stakeholders who are implementing it are standing across the fence and we are on this other side, it's not going to work.
Because that's what many people see. They no longer have
trust. That's what they have chosen
to
see.
Trust.
They have chosen to see that. They have decided to have mistrust, to the extent that when somebody even gives you bread and a knife, you still believe that it is a piece of steak.
Because they have given them opportunities and they have failed to meet the aspirations of the people.
Just like Cameroonians have been given opportunities by the government and they have betrayed the government. Do you imagine how many Cameroonians who have flown and they are living out of the country, but they are still on salary in this country? Do you imagine the amount of youths who took money from PAGE to implement projects, and the next day they flew to Japan, Germany, and the USA? Why are you only looking on one side? Get it on both sides, and then you get on the platform. We're going to work together as a nation, as people who love this country, people who trust this country, people who have patriotic love for this country, and you see that Cameroon will grow. Because I want to guarantee you, without any fear of contradiction, that Cameroon is one of the richest nations in Africa. What we lack is manpower. What we lack is human resources. And the human resources is the distorted brain of so many Cameroonians who only believe that you cannot make it here, you can make it outside. No matter the bread you are giving them, they are not seeing it. They only want to do it somewhere else. Cameroon is a blessed nation. And I think that together we can make Cameroon the El Dorado of Africa.
What about lack of good leaders?
Lack of good leaders. We have good and bad leaders everywhere, but these leaders are chosen by the people, and we have to choose them based on their competence. And I think that Cameroonians are not as stupid enough that you think that they don't choose people who are competent enough to do the work for them. I want to believe that you cannot have a bag of corn and each piece of corn inside, each grain of corn is good. You always have bad grain of corn in a full bag of corn.
And don't we know these bad leaders to fish them out?
We can only fish them out if Cameroonians and young Cameroonians in particular develop the spirit of participative development. If young Cameroonians start registering to vote in elections, if Cameroonians get interested, more women in politics, more youth in politics, so that they will be able to exercise their votes and wash out those bad leaders and keep the ones who are good. If you refuse to register to vote, if you refuse to participate in your civil responsibilities, how do you want to choose good leaders? Those who want the bad leaders, who register, will choose bad leaders for you. So you should steam up, patriotic, and register to vote and be able to wash away those you think are not good leaders. You don't sit behind, refuse to perform your civic responsibilities and think that by criticizing you are going to remove somebody from power. You don't do that.
Because they don't participate effectively. Most of them don't take part in
elections, and the followers of those who are there go and vote for them, and they stay there, and you have to stay quiet.
Because they are disappointed with the electoral codes of the country that has been, let me say, hijacked by those in power.
When you say hijacked, I don't understand what you mean, because a party like CRM or MRC was given the opportunity to participate in the legislative elections, where they could put their voice, join it to other opposition parties like the SDF and the FSNC of Issa Chiruma in the parliament, and be able to come up with regulatory laws that will upgrade the electoral system of this country. But they refuse it and think that they could do it in the streets. You don't bring political change on the streets. It has never happened anywhere in this world. It is not in Cameroon that it will happen.
But that is done peacefully. It is a constitutional right of Cameroonians to manifest peacefully.
I don't know whether the manifestation of barbarism and violence that took place in the Cameroon embassy in France is a peaceful manifestation you are talking about.
You should know that those.
I don't think that what we saw in Switzerland on Saturday is the peaceful manifestation you are talking about.
They are
is that the peaceful manifestation you are talking about?
Maybe you're talking about the BAS members. They are not like Kamto Ella said. They are not members of the CRM political party. But
okay, I now realize that you are no longer a journalist. You are now speaking as a legal consultant for the CRM.
I'm not speaking as a consultant for the CRM. Well, I'm simply stating the facts. According to what Professor Maurice Kamto of the CRM says, he has no link with those in the bars, that they just rally behind him. They call his name because they see him as their president and not the head of state. That's why I'm trying to put things right that way. Now, about the mistrust of the electoral court, and you equally said that they moved to the streets. Is it not a constitutional right?
Yes, it's a constitutional right for people to revindicate.
Why is it that all the times, peacefully? All the times they say the violence has been have turned to maybe they started maybe destroying public institutions, attacking public institutions, and so on. Why?
Once bitten, twice shy. Once bitten, twice shy. 2008, Douala Bonaberi. You saw what happened. Shops, offices were looted. France, Cameroon embassy. You saw what happened. The embassy was looted. Switzerland, you saw what happened. Shooting tomatoes at the Swiss police to tell them how barbaric, how primitive Cameroonians as they are. That is a bad representation of Cameroonians in the diaspora. And I think they don't represent Cameroon. They just represent one kind of jungle that I don't imagine. I was ashamed to see Cameroonians portraying barbarism in Europe and calling themselves Cameroonians. Some of them were even carrying Cameroon flags. I was wondering how I could find them there and pull out those flags from their hands, because they were disgracing the image of this beloved nation, Cameroon.
And the leaders, have they not been, somehow the poor leaders, those who do not have the patriotic feeling for Cameroon, have they not equally been disgracing the national colors?
I want to think that that's your assertion. That's your assertion. And all these government officials who are there that you think that they are not good.
Not all.
They took an oath of office, and we have courts of law. Cameroon is a state of law. And if the state of law or the courts have realized that these people have gone beyond the expectations that they gave to them, I think they'll be charged and they'll go in for their crimes. You can see the Operation Epivier. You can count how many ministers who are in jail. This means that Mr. Biya is fighting corruption on a very high sense in this nation that needs appreciation and applaud. But all the time, we only want to criticize.
And before we go out, do you believe this Operation Sparrowhawk has to be more effective this time around regarding the COVID kits, the funds that were designated for the management of the COVID-19 pandemic, embezzled by some of these government authorities who do not have the real Cameroonians at heart?
We have been getting this information from media outlets, Equinoxe TV houses, social media. But as I tell you, Cameroon has the Ministry of Supreme State Control. They are going to investigate into that and report to the presidency. And if they are found guilty, they should be punished.
Thank you so much. I think that should be last statement on this talking point this Tuesday.
Thank you for inviting me. One love.
For our country, Cameroon.
For Cameroon.
Okay. That was Sunye Siaka, a politician, is our guest on Talking Point today. I'll be so happy to have him after a very long time, and we'll always be having you to answer to some preoccupying situations.
I will always be at your disposal to edify and educate Cameroonians on good governance, on political involvement, and to let Cameroonians know that if you don't do politics, politics is going to do you, as we say in the quarter.
All right, we'll see then. That's it. Thanks so much for being part of this edition of the 6 p.m. Primetime Newscast on Equinoxe Television. Do join us tomorrow. Have a nice evening.